Welcome to the Only Male Cruz Show, the We On Your Head podcast. Discussing topics that make you say, how and where can we improve as a society? From a Black American's perspective. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Catch us live, be ready to speak. This is a call-in show. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Let's go to work. All right, welcome to the Only Male Cruz Show, the We On Your Head podcast. I am the Only Male Cruz. We got a guest that's going to be up here on this panel in a hot second. Today's show is so important. You don't want to miss this. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang. I really need you to leave a comment because we want to hear from you. We are also simultaneous on YouTube's channel, The Church. And once you hear from this guest, you'll understand why we're simultaneous over there. And we're simultaneous on Facebook. Do you hear us? So this is a coordinated podcast episode between all three entities. This is hot off the press. Today's show is entitled... the question out here is New Jersey police retaliation. We have a woman who filed a lawsuit, an auntie who filed a lawsuit. Some type of way, the New Jersey cops arrested her nephew. The question on the table is this New Jersey police retaliation? And I'm going to tell you, you're going to be surprised when you learn the answer to that particular question. Let me welcome to the show Lyreshia Speaks. Good afternoon, Lyreshia. How you doing?
Hello. Hi. How you doing? Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your platform.
Oh my goodness. No, thank you. Thank you for doing this interview with me. I appreciate it so much. Shout out to the people in the YouTube channel, Dr. Nikki. Thank you, Dr. Nikki, for pulling up. Lyreshia, you've got oh, wow. Okay. Happy birthday too, Dr. Nikki. Please, happy birthday. Enjoy yourself. So, Lyreshia, your situation is so interesting because, and it definitely takes you to tell it, but you were a probation officer for the New Jersey Judiciary, and that's an interesting term, in Middlesex County, New Jersey, from 2012 to 2021. And you state that you were receiving some racist treatment, and you ended up filing a lawsuit. What I'd really like you to do, because this story is really deep and it's got a lot of twists and turns, can you give us a brief overview as to what happened with that lawsuit?
Okay. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for allowing me on your platform.
Absolutely.
After experiencing various incidents of discrimination, harassment, and retaliation, and me attempting to hold the New Jersey Judiciary accountable internally. He did something, I did something.
Mm-hmm.
I reported it, I documented, but they retaliated. And it was to the point where me holding them accountable only, instead of them doing what they were supposed to do and holding the people accountable who I was reporting, because that was the policy, they decided to teach me a lesson by telling me that I was just supposed to basically, this is why my theory came in that Black people are supposed to be okay with white supremacy in law enforcement, because as a Black person, I wasn't supposed to report them. We would have training, and in that training, it would be report all incidents or rumors of incidents. You're not supposed to be discriminated against, or you're not supposed to be treated like a second-class citizen. You know, we are the royal speech that they give, but while they were actively telling us that we're not supposed to be discriminated against or we're not supposed to be treated differently, they were discriminating against us and treating us differently.
Internally. Now, are you able to list maybe a couple of two things that they did that made you file the lawsuit with EEOC, or the suit with EEOC, the complaint with EEOC?
When I started working in 2012, I filed my initial internal complaint in December of 2013. And as a Black person, I was being held to a different standard than white people. And even training, they would not train me to do my job. As a Black person, you're supposed to teach me how to do what I'm supposed to do as a probation officer. I can only be as effective as my training or what I'm taught. They refused to train me because I was Black. And the people who were applying for PTI is pretrial intervention. In the state of New Jersey, if you make a mistake, you get a first arrest, you can apply to be in a intervention where after a certain period of supervision, your charges will be dismissed. But because they didn't like me, a Black probation officer, they would force me to deny people into the program because they didn't like me. Or just nasty treatment. Like I was walking down the hallway and the supervisor said she thought I was going to rob her. So it was just nasty, unprofessional, harassing treatment. My daughter had FMLA. Well, I had FMLA due to my child's sickness, but so you're always harassing me about while I'm late. If I'm out a week late, the cases that I was supposed to be working on, I can't work on because I'm not there. But then you're harassing me every day, asking about these cases. It didn't make sense. And they thought because they were doing this to Black people that it was okay. And I'm letting them know, no, boo-boo, that's harassment. Or you sending me emails. I have an email from she's now the assistant criminal division manager in Middlesex County. I wrote her up for being racist in 2017. She sent me an email every second, every minute, like things like this harassment. An email every minute asking me a question. When your desk is right next to my desk, you could just come over there and get the information. But it's like the treatment that only Black people are supposed to suffer through.
I see. So, and it sounds to me like there was no, like they did this thing, or did these things, without any fear or concern that someone was going to report them, or that if they were reported, that they would suffer any level of punishment as a result of their actions. So you filed these EEOC complaints. How did it turn out with EEOC? Because EEOC, I mean, they get all the way down to it. I can attest to that personally because I filed a suit with the EEOC before, and it worked out in my favor. So we know that they're very diligent in getting the details and making their final determination. So what was the end result with EEOC?
Well, the ones I found internally, basically. The ones I found internally, they basically said that my claims had no merit. The New Jersey, and this is what I learned about white supremacy. White supremacists are not going to hold white supremacists accountable for white supremacy. So every time I did something internally, they said that I had no case, I had no merit. Anything and everything that was happening to me would get over it. It was not discrimination. I filed 2 federal EEO complaints against them and got 2 right to sue letters. So internally, it's basically going to HR. Is the only reason why you go to HR is so they limit their liability. They don't want to find out what the issues are. They just want to squash the issue. So internally, going to the EEO was a waste of time. But when I did it federally, I did get 2 right to sue letters. One in 2014, 2015, and one in 2018 from what happened in 2017.
Okay. And so when you got those letters, you took the appropriate action because you have 4 months?
90 days. 90 days. The first time I couldn't get an attorney to take my case. And basically the assistant criminal division manager, I was brought up on charges for cursing in the bathroom. Now, this place was saying cursing, you can't curse. Now, my witness said I didn't cuss. So they brought her up on charges and alleged that she refused to cooperate with investigation because the criminal division manager at the time said, you're going to testify. It's witness tampering. You're going to testify against me. And 3 other people in another case did. She refused to. And some months later, the assistant criminal division manager was in a meeting with a Caucasian investigator. That investigator was cussing. And the Caucasian assistant criminal division manager did absolutely nothing. An African-American female investigator filed an EEO complaint, an internal EEO complaint against the assistant criminal division manager and said when Lyreshia was accused, she was brought up on charges. But when this Caucasian female did it, nothing happened. Now, this proves my complaint because my initial complaint said Black people are subject to discipline when white people are not. The state of New Jersey, the New Jersey Judiciary said to this assistant criminal division manager, "You've been here since 1978. We're going to let you step down and resign so we don't bring you up on departmental charges." And at the same time, my complaint that she did exactly what they busted her for, they said it had no merit. And that's why I call them corrupt.
Mm.
Because how could it have no merit when you have an additional complaint that confirms my initial EEO? You have that. That's the evidence that you have. But because they didn't want to be held accountable for discrimination, they made it go away.
Mm-hmm. So then ultimately, because now I'm trying to get to the part, because you and I've spoken, I've heard your story. It's so fascinating. It's amazing. But at some point, you end up winning. Is this right?
No, I'm
Okay.
still, my cases are actually still pending.
Oh.
My cases are actually still pending. When I filed my lawsuit in 2019, the
Mm-hmm.
state of New Jersey filed a motion to dismiss. They said it's a sham. They said, I didn't exhaust all my administrative means. And the federal judge said, no, she can sue y'all. So
Mm-hmm.
I received my right to sue letter. I filed my lawsuit. They filed a motion to dismiss and they lost. So in federal court with no attorney, I have a federal lawsuit. The
I got
state of New Jersey was like, they're upset.
you.
So
Mm-hmm.
that comes into retaliation with my nephew, and I filed my state lawsuit against them.
Okay, now hold on a minute, because we're going to get to the lawsuit. But again, see, that's where I was trying to get to, because there's so much information. So, because I've heard you say before, hey, and I won without an attorney. So essentially when you're claiming victory, which is a solid victory, you're claiming victory in the fact that you had no attorney. You filed a federal EEOC complaint where lawsuit in the past, where when you filed your previous complaints, internally, you were told, nah, there's no merit. You don't got nothing going on. Go somewhere and sit down. When you take it federal without an attorney, you end up getting a positive affirmation that, hey, this can proceed forward. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Now, something else I want to kind of segue to before we get to the main crux of this question, whether this is New Jersey police retaliation. Before I do that, let me shout out the people on YouTube. K Baby in the house. So good to see you. Tatiana Harris. Y'all do like Tatiana Harris say. Do like she say. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang. Leave a comment if you don't want to hear from you. DJ Segwan and of course Dr. Nikki in the house. Appreciate all y'all for pulling up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so now here's the part I want to get to, because I was shocked because I reached out to you. Now you said you've written a book, but the book is not yet available. Is that correct?
Yes. What happened was it went on sale. I sold out, and I haven't made any more copies to sell out again.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't published it again. It's published. Some people purchase a copy. If you have a copy, you're actually kind of lucky, because I don't know when I'm gonna be printing copies to it again. But what happened, the reason why I wrote the book, you want me to talk about that now? Because there's a specific reason why I wrote it.
Yeah, I do want to know about, but what I want to, okay, so is this just a technical thing, or is this a strategic thing that the
Strategic.
book is not available right now?
Strategic.
Okay, let's talk about that strategy about the book and why it's not available, because I've heard you describe and discuss the content of the book, and that sounds like it's going to be a bestseller. It sounds like something, that's why I reached out to him like, hey girl, I want to read this book. So there's a strategy to the book. So let's get in there and let's get that good understanding.
Do you mind if I not want to tell my strategy? I could just say why I wrote the book.
Yes, you may. Absolutely, lady. Absolutely. Tell
I
us.
want my attorney to kill me. Well, basically, when you file these discrimination lawsuits, once the case settles, you are forced to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and you can't talk about what happened. Mm-hmm. And I refuse to be silent about the abuse that was done to me by the New Jersey Judiciary. It's unacceptable treatment. And the fact that they did it, I honestly feel, stand 10 toes deep on what you did. Don't throw a rock and hide your hand where you caused all this trauma. You committed all these crimes. But now, because you give me a little check, I can't talk about it. No, sir. I have an issue with that. And I'm going to talk about what you did to me, because number one, you did it. You didn't have any problem when doing what you did. You did it with 10 toes deep. You did it with your chest out. You illegally incarcerated my nephew. You fired me. You did all those things that were illegal, and you didn't bat an eye. You didn't blink. You didn't do. You had no problem sleeping at night.
Yeah, enjoyed
But
it.
now you want to cover up what you did because you don't want the taxpayers and the citizens to know. Nah, boo boo, not with me. No. So I
Mm-hmm.
wrote my book, especially the case is pending right now. And I also understood how white supremacy works. You have a lot of people profiting off the pain of Black people.
Mm.
There's a movie done on the young lady who was murdered in Mexico with the fight with her friends.
Right.
The
Yeah.
family is going to Tubi right now, telling Tubi to take down that TV show about their
Mm-hmm.
child. I own the rights to my story. Nobody's going to profit off my pain but me. And even if not that I want to profit off of it, but it was strategically done so I could obtain the rights to my story so that I will be able to talk about my story for years to come. And I understand the fight that I'm in. And if people don't understand it, or if it could be 100 years from now, and people understand what I did, not just for me, but for the citizens of New Jersey and Black people to really map out how this system is corrupt. Because they say, oh, if something happens to you, file a lawsuit. But the courts are abusing us by shutting us up from what they're doing to us. They have a strategic way of discriminating against us. Then they have a strategic way of covering it up. I'm not okay with that.
Right. Now, thank you for that. Thank you for making that clarification. I'll tell you right now in the comments, Tatiana Harris is saying, where can I buy the book? Let us know. We're going to let you know about it when it comes available. So is there a projected date when the book will be available, or do we have to wait until all of this litigation is resolved?
I don't know. Tell her to DM me.
Okay. Not a problem. We'll get to that. So, here's what I want to get to. And this is the situation on the nephew, because I see the little trick that they pulled based on the information that was sent to me. So, and it was exciting speaking to you earlier today before the show, because when I really to get your approval for this graphic, and you're like, wait, hold on, it's not New Jersey police retaliation. Hold up just a minute. I'm like, okay, great. And I do want you to clarify that. But before you get in there and actually tell us the answer to this question, is this New Jersey police retaliation? I want to get into a little bit about your nephew. And the main thing about that is, if you can make it clear, because based on information I was reading, you let the court system know that your nephew had some dealings within your jurisdiction or the area in which you worked, and so they transferred some cases away from you. But then all of a sudden, when you turned the heat up on the way you were being treated on your job, some type of way, all of a sudden your nephew's case ends up coming within your jurisdiction, and then they put you in a little trick bag. Do you mind kind of elaborating on how that went down?
Okay, no, I don't mind at all.
Okay.
So, as a probation officer, if you have a family member involved in the court, you have to fill out a form. My nephew was on juvenile probation, and I let the court know as soon as it came to my attention. Like, you have a family member dealing with the court. Every time somebody get arrested, get a parking ticket, I have to report it. So I tell my family, don't tell me anything. Your business is your business. If you tell me and I know about it, because I'm a person of integrity, and this is where I fought. I blame myself to a point where I honestly think I shouldn't adhere to that rule, because me adhering to that rule allowed white supremacy to know the information to attack my family in retaliation. So when I reported it, he was in Middlesex County. The court, New Jersey Judiciary, said that this case is a conflict being in this county where I work, because I was a probation officer. I didn't force them to make that decision. I didn't tell them. They made that decision on their own. They transferred the case from Middlesex County to Union County. Me being the person that I am, again, they have a policy. I know you see the bellboys. If you see something, say something. They continue to be racist, and I continue to report it. They had an issue with that. The Middlesex County prosecutor decided that he even threatened my sister and told my sister that they're going to throw him in prison. Mind you, my nephew has mental health issues. Let's be clear. I'm not justifying or clarifying for him.
Sure.
I'm just saying the facts. He was assaulted in a residential treatment center in New Jersey. He ran from that facility. That's a violation of probation. I wrote a letter to the judge in Union County, which I had every right to do. In the letter, I did not say I'm a probation officer, hook a sister up. I simply said my nephew has mental health issues. He was assaulted. I contacted institutional abuse, and he ran because he was assaulted. He feared for his safety. The judge in Union County, I'm gonna give him the credit where credit is due. He was like, okay, cool, we're just gonna continue him on probation. Middlesex County prosecutor wanted to throw him in prison. As a Black person who, you know, they get money from people being incarcerated.
Sure.
You out and you know, you're in treatment or you're doing whatever, you're getting the help that you need. That was an issue for them. He wanted the case back in Middlesex. And my sister was like, you taking this case back in Middlesex, it's a conflict in Middlesex. They didn't care about a conflict because, you know, they're corrupt. They didn't care about the conflict. They decided a year later, for no reason, they decided to transfer his case from Union County back to Middlesex County and issue a court order against me. The court order basically said that I cannot discuss the case with anybody who's processing my nephew case. Mind you, I couldn't do that anyway, and I wouldn't do that anyway. I wouldn't go to my supervisor or my friend. Oh, you working on my nephew probation? His report. Make sure he get this. Oh, pass his drug test, even though he failed. Like I have integrity, so I wouldn't have did that anyway. So the fact that you give me this court order to say not to do something I wasn't going to do was ridiculous. But I was an advocate for my nephew. I was a social worker for 7 years prior to being a probation officer for 9. And I worked with kids with behavioral health and mental health issues. That was my specialty. So why wouldn't I help my nephew?
True.
So by them doing that, I felt that at that point it was no longer business, it was personal. And that's again where the corruption come in, because I don't feel like you're telling me at Thanksgiving and me and my family are talking and we say, okay, I need money or we need money to go pay for an attorney. You telling me that I can't do that? And that's where they got me. I hate the curse, but that's where they got me. They effed around and found out right then and there. It was the point where that let me know that I have to do everything in my power to let everybody know what you did because you want to cover it up. And I wasn't okay. That was in 2017. And that was right before I was brought up on those BS charges. Again, I report racism. I reported she was the team leader. She has been promoted twice since I filed a discrimination lawsuit against her for being racist. She's right now the criminal division manager in Middlesex County, New Jersey. In Middlesex, if you get into a fight, she is the person who decides whether you get into PATI or not. And she's in the middle of 2 discrimination lawsuits, one in state court, one in federal court. Yes. And I'm saying it like Tony Braxton. I'm like, everybody and their mama know. And of course, they want you to remain silent about the corruption because they don't want the citizens to know. Why shouldn't the citizens know what y'all did? Y'all did it. If you don't want the citizens or you don't want anybody in the world to know what you're doing, you shouldn't be corrupt. Because at the end of the day, me being silent about your abuses mean I'm okay with it. Because I'm from the hood and accessory after the fact.
Right.
Or if I had a boyfriend who was selling drugs, don't you know you would charge me for me not telling the police that he was selling drugs? So why wouldn't you charge me if I'm aware of these public officials being corrupt? No, I'm a senior like Tony Braxton.
Well, and not only that, but what is the message being sent when someone has, at least to your knowledge, at least 2 complaints against them? Could be more, but to your knowledge has at least two complaints against them, and they're getting promoted. So what is that saying? Yeah, what is that saying?
Let me tell you why they did it. Now, the probation officers, the investigators who are there, who are testifying in my lawsuit, because let's be clear, my case is pending right now. I got court the 27th of November. So the people who work there have to testify against their manager. That was a chess move. They did that on purpose. Because who you think gonna go there and testify that she racist and she signed a check and they see them every day and she the head? They did that. That's an intimidation tactic and to try to scare people. But I grew up in North New Jersey. I used to duck bullets as a kid. I ain't scared of no ghosts. So it don't faze me. But I understand why they did that, and I'm glad they did. So now when I do my little book tour and I do my little tours and I talk about their races, I prove my point exactly by telling the position that she's in, and that is a fact. She is for a fact promoted to the criminal division manager in Middlesex County.
Yeah. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, somebody needs to be put on a stand and ask them, how dare you? How could you even, is that part of the requirement? Because how do you get to
No,
have
that's
complaints
it.
and then get promoted? That's just completely
That's
ridiculous.
exactly what it is.
Now,
And at the end of the day,
here, I want to kind of segue over into your nephew because this kind of pulled on my heartstrings a little bit because, so your nephew was in a Chinese restaurant. He got into a little situation, and I'm gonna have you elaborate a little bit on there. But the fact of the matter is, when he walked into the Chinese restaurant, he already had mental health issues anyway. Okay, he gets into a situation, and based on everything that's happening now, his mental health has declined.
yeah. Um,
But
I'm gonna
let's
try
start
not
from
to
the
cry. I'm gonna try
okay.
not to cry. I'm gonna
All
go
right,
back to the first incident.
start from the beginning.
So
Yeah,
he's in denial about his mental health, which a lot of
mhm.
people are. So
Sure,
he would be hospitalized. He would get his medications. He take his medications. He would be fine. He would be released from the hospital. And then he get out the hospital. You know, at this time he was 18. He
sure.
was hospitalized since he was 15. So he was in and out of hospital since 15. And once he started taking his medication, he's fine. Guess what? I don't need my medication. I'm fine. And then he would be hospitalized again. So, you know, again, he's a kid. So I'm working with him, explaining to him, making sure I'm going to see him. He's 2 hours away in South Jersey. I'm going to see my baby in the hospital. I'm checking up on him. He had just got released from University Hospital before this incident happened. And when he was released, what he do, he stopped taking his medication. He was inside the Chinese food restaurant and he was asking the customer for $1. The owner was saying, get out, you know, leave my customer alone,
Mhm.
and attempted to hit my nephew with the wet floor sign. My nephew defended himself. And it was two of them who jumped on my nephew. They got into an altercation. My nephew was charged with second-degree robbery and second-degree aggravated assault. Now, this is where I say the corruption come in. How do you get a robbery charge? No money. My nephew ain't asked nobody for no money. He
Well,
didn't. He asked a guy for $1 to buy a black and mild, but he didn't try to take $1 from him. And this is why I say, you know, the corruption in law enforcement in Middlesex County. And I'll say this on the stand. I'll get it tattooed on my forehead. They're so corrupt. They charge you what they want to charge you with. And
and
he
dare
was
you to
charged with
prove them
second
wrong.
degree robbery.
Hmm. I'm sorry, they what? And he was charged what? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Second degree robbery and second degree aggravated assault. And when he was in prison, and while he was there, they were harassing him while he was in the prison. Now, the side effects of his medication is slurred speech, but he becomes nonverbal. So while he's incarcerated, we talking to him, and I'm telling him, don't sign anything when you go to court. My sister is advocating to the public defender, like, look, my son has mental health issues. He has a history of hospitalizations since he was 15. The Middlesex County prosecutor told the public defender, we locking him up. He's an N-word. We gonna make him a slave. They wasn't advocating for my nephew. My sister was telling them, they was just like, yeah, okay. Anyway, I told my sister, stop talking to them, put something in writing. She wrote a letter and basically said, number one, my sister is there. She has my federal EEO complaint was pending for discrimination against them. And I know they did this in retaliation to me. She wanted the case transferred out back to Union County where it was, because anybody who was in Middlesex County, and I'm calling these people racist, I got the EEO complaint. We didn't want the complaint there. It was no robbery. Yes, the charge was robbery. There was no robbery. If they had an emergency change of venue hearing, emergency change of venue. Change of venue is the venue was in Middlesex County, and the family wanted it to change to Union County because of the racist history of Middlesex County. And I want to tell you, Middlesex County has a history of being racist. This is the same county that illegally arrested, illegally charged, and illegally convicted Asana Shakur, and she has her warrant from Middlesex County, from corrupt Middlesex County. So that's the history of the racist Middlesex County. Middlesex County is one of the most racist county in New Jersey. I stand on that. And at this change of venue hearing, they gave my nephew a plea and told him that if he did not sign the plea, he would get 10 years in prison. If he signed the plea, he would get 5 years. NERA is no early release act, meaning now you're a violent felon.
Mhm.
Before we went to court, I told my nephew, I don't care what they give you, don't sign. He got mental health issues. He signed. He thought that 5 years was better than 10, even though based on his charges and his mental health, he should have just got probation. They forced him. The public defender said, if you don't sign this, you're going to get 10 years in prison. Right now, he's been in prison since 2019. And like, it's ridiculous. So immediately after they signed at this, mind you, it was a change of venue. So how do you even offer a plea? And this is why I say they're corrupt. How do you even get a plea offer at a change of venue? The case was supposed to be transferred out of county. And the person who even gave him that is his public. That's why I say they're corrupt. His public defender. You're supposed to be putting his best interest at heart. And if it was a change of venue, the family wanted it out because of his mental health based on the discrimination that the aunt is reporting who worked there. How do you slide in a plea agreement? Her name is Caroline Beelan.
So okay. So you said now at this point he's been in since 2019. Has his mental health now been stabilized, or is it? Are they?
They're torturing him. The state of New Jersey Department of Corrections, the parole, are torturing him while he's in prison. They would not change his outfit for 6 months. We went to see him last Saturday. They did not give him clean clothes for 6 months.
Wow.
6 months. They're giving him medication that charges hallucinations, causes seizures, and we're fighting. They're torturing my nephew in prison because of my lawsuit. So after they get him to sign it, remember I had a court order against me. The state of New Jersey Judiciary assigns me as a probation officer to complete his pre-sentence report. This is how incompetent these people are. We're working with a bunch of geniuses, I tell you. I'm surprised we're not living on the moon with, all these public officials. They assign me to complete his report. If I say something to my supervisor about the report I was just assigned, that's violation of a court order. If I don't say anything, that's violation of a court order. That's why I was having panic attacks, because that's the type of abuses that they did. So after that happened, that was September of 2019. In October of 2019, I filed my lawsuit in federal court with no attorney. And I I named the prosecutor, I named the public defender, I named the hearing officer for my departmental charges, the HR manager, the trial court administrator. I named everybody named their mama that I could name because they don't like Black people. Mm-hmm. With my nephew case, the public defender, because I named the public defender, they gave him a pool attorney. The pool attorney that he received specialized in people with mental health. He immediately, before even contacting my family, telling my family that he was assigned the case, because we didn't even know, he submitted a motion to have my nephew withdraw his plea, basically saying, and it's all public information. Anybody want to Google, and this is why I'm talking about this while this case is pending, because anybody can look up these court documents while it's public. Once I settle my case, they're going to seal the documents. So they sent him the pool attorney. The pool attorney immediately filed a motion to have my nephew withdraw his plea. That was 2019. That was November 2019. COVID happened. Mm-hmm. 2020, February the 3rd, 2021, he has his hearing where we had him do independent psychologist did an evaluation. Based on that evaluation, they said that my nephew qualifies for not guilty by reason of insanity, because at the time of the offense, he did not know right from wrong. Right. So the state of New Jersey, this is how incompetent they are. They were supposed to get a psychologist to differ from that psychologist's opinion. No, they didn't do that. The judge just said we're going to send him to prison anyway. That's corruption, because the judge doesn't have the authority to go against the doctor. Right now, the state of New Jersey Judiciary are not caring about the mental health of my nephew. They care about the fact that if that would have happened, it would have confirmed my lawsuit. My lawsuit would have just, everything I said about them would have been correct. So that's the retaliation of the courts. A lot of times when people say defund the police, we don't talk about the abuse of power, the corruption within the courts and the prosecutor. It's not just the police. The police are giving a green light to do what they do because of the corrupt prosecutors that we elect, or they get appointed by the governors that we elect, or the judges. And again, it's not just I want to be very clear. It's not just defund the police. It's not the police who are even retaliating against my nephew. It's
Right.
the corruption of the prosecutor and the courts, the Department of Correction and the Department of Parole. They're all they're conspiring RICO charges. They're all conspiring with one another to keep my mentally ill nephew incarcerated, to try to teach me a lesson for filing my discrimination lawsuit against the New Jersey Judiciary. And I have more than enough evidence to prove that. So February the 3rd, 2021, I attended my nephew's hearing. I had a panic attack. Now, again, they've done all of this to my nephew. They illegally incarcerated him. The kids are homeschooled, and my daughter keeps we're on Zoom. My daughter keeps asking me questions. I'm talking to my daughter. I'm having a panic attack. The court accused me of talking to my sister. Not mind you, they wrote me up for being incompetent. I'm written up for being incompetent and neglecting my duty. Now they're writing me up saying I'm a genius and that I was helping my sister answer questions that I did not know the answer to. She was being questioned by the prosecutor and by at the time, because she was testifying at his hearing. I don't know the questions that the prosecutor's asking. I don't know the answers to the prosecutor. My sister's cursing him out, by the way. She about that life.
Go ahead on, sis.
So I'm on the side, like, oh my God. Now I wrote pre-sentence reports for this judge, had several conversations with this judge, worked with this prosecutor. I was there at this time for 9 years. I'm in there and I'm like, oh my God, they just asked her, it's a yes or no question, relax. They said, because I said it's a yes or no question, that is a violation of the court order, which said that I can't talk to anybody processing my nephew's case, which they fired me is baloney and it's bogus. And they fired me from my job because of that. I'm having a flat out panic attack. Like, y'all got my nephew locked up now since 2019. It's 2021. Y'all trying to, it's just like, even mentally thinking about everything that was going on at that time, I was losing my, I don't want to curse, but I was losing my sugar honey iced tea. They said that I was having elaborate conversations with my sister, giving her answers to questions that I didn't know the answers to. So I got fired, which was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So let me ask you this question though: had they kept your nephew in the other jurisdiction in Union County, then there wouldn't have been there'd be no way they could have even imagined some level of conflict of interest, because it was no longer in the county Middlesex.
Exactly.
That you work
they fired me. They fired me for creating an appearance of impropriety. Ooh. They created the appearance of impropriety by transferring the case that they said was a conflict back to the case where the conflict existed.
Come on with it. And you're the one that coming out the gate and said, "Hey, look, I need to alert you guys of potential conflict of interest."
And I feel like that's my fault for doing that. I should have known. I knew who white supremacy was. By me doing that, set him up.
They would have got you though. They would have got you.
They would have got me either way.
Either way, absolutely.
So they got me for basically doing everything I was supposed to do, and that's why I do interviews. That's why I wrote my book. That's why I'm a motivational speaker.
Yes.
That's why I'm talking about what they're doing, because the thing is, with my case and what they're doing to me, I'm not special. It was a young lady in Buffalo, New York. Now, her partner was a white guy. He choked a black defendant. She got her white partner off of this black guy. They brought her up on false departmental charges and fired her. This was 2023, 2024 when this happened. In Buffalo, New York, she was a young lady. I talked to her. I can't think of her name right now. This was 2022, 2023, 2024, around that time. And they fired her on false departmental charges. In 2022 is when she finally got her pension and cleared her name. And she started talking about it now because she was on the Breakfast Club too. So I reached out to her and we talked. So I knew what white supremacy was going to do to me.
Right.
So I knew I had 2 kids that I have to raise. Baby, I wrote my book. I started my business as a motivational speaker. And I was like, okay, you're not going to break me.
Right. Now let me get in here, because see, you kind of swimming over that real quick. And I want you to take your time on this part, because that's the part that fascinated me the most about you when I watched this other video about you. It's phenomenal. First of all, the fact that you know from where your help cometh. Okay. You told that story. You said, "Hey, you know what? This is. I finally." You talked about how it took you 6 years to get a 4-year degree. You talked about how you tried to do everything right the God way. Shout out to the believers in Christ. Um, and yet you're going through this, and you also talked about how there's some people that couldn't speak, and you're the voice for those people. When I saw that and heard you saying that, I said, well, it made me think of Esther for such a time as this. Do you mind elaborating a little bit on that piece of that, because that is so inspirational, how you are leaning on God in this whole situation. Do you mind elaborating?
Yes, yes. It's the thing is, okay, I grew up in Newark and I grew up poor. You know, all the statistics, my father died in prison. Um, and like you know, as a little girl, you know how you have people come to your school and say, all you got to do is go to school, get an education. So
Hmm.
I'm in the hood, I'm struggling, I'm going to bed hungry, I'm homeless, living in the shelter, sleeping in the car. Like I had my childhood was rough. So, and them me being told all you have to do is go to school, get a good education. When I graduated high school, I was the bottom 25%. I could barely read. Bottom 25%. And I was told, got to go to school, go to get an education. I got job offers for $31,000 a year as a manager at Rent a Center, manager for McDonald's. I worked for McDonald's my senior year, and $31,000 a year for a person who was homeless, didn't have anything. Now you're getting $30,000 a year, but I turned those jobs down because I had to go to school, and if I couldn't work a full-time job and go to school, you know, relationships I broke up. I don't want a relationship. I got to go to school. Like it was just my focus of me being told again. And that's why I want to be a motivational speaker and really talk to the kids. Cause I feel like, don't play with me. You playing with my emotions. You telling me all I have to do is do this. And that's what I did. It took me 6 years. I went to the county college. I went to the 4 years university. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I never smoked weed. I've never seen marijuana. I'm from North. People in my class used to make fun of me because, like, you from North, you never seen marijuana. No. Like my father was a drug addict. No, I never seen it. I don't drink alcohol. Peer pressure, you know, just making sure I was always in the right place at the right time, making sure I made I wanted to be FBI. So making sure I made certain decisions to not get myself, because you are known by the company you keep, not being around certain people. I know people who live the street life or whatever, but made decisions not to do that and always tried to do what was right, you know. And then when I get the job and I'm supposed to do everything that I'm supposed to do, hold myself above because I work for the courts and we have this code of conduct training. And then I get here and all I see is my education didn't matter. My integrity didn't matter. My knowledge didn't matter. It was just the fact that I was a Black woman. And as a Black woman working in law enforcement, whether it's for the police, for the courts as a probation officer, as an investigator, for the sheriff office, for the Department of Corrections, your job as a Black person in law enforcement is to support white supremacy.
Mm.
I am not okay with that. And as a young girl, my mother was a correction officer and she used to fight them all the time. She filed discrimination complaints as well. So when I get my fight, I follow in her footsteps. My mother was a leader and a fighter. She was nominated for Officer of the Year 7 years in a row because she used to fight. She a PBA rep. She wasn't a PBA rep, but every time she represented somebody on departmental charges, she always won. My
Mm.
mother was a lawyer like by herself, and she, you know, she had a high school diploma, but you couldn't tell me that she was a bad mamma jamma. So me seeing, okay, the fight in her standing up for what's right. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go be a probation officer. It's like it's not a shock because I know who I am. I know who my people are. I know who this country is. When it happened to me, I knew what it was.
Right.
And a lot of times people are shocked and people don't want to stand up. And I was told, don't say nothing.
Hmm.
Like, no, this is just, you know, you got a pension, you know, you're going to get I was getting $1,800 every 2 weeks after taxes when I was fired.
Yeah. See.
So, and it was like, y'all don't pay me enough money, boo boo. I'm from the streets. When you
Right.
grow up poor, and I grew up in that mindset, and it was like taking that money and, oh, I had to be silent about it.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to be silent about nobody violating I don't care who you are. I used to duck bullets as a kid. I'm not scared of you. What you're doing is not right. And me being silent and me being quiet about what you're doing mean that I'm okay with it. So now I'm going to sing it like Tony Braxton.
Well.
And I'm going to make sure And I'm going to document it for the history books, because once you understand like white supremacy, okay, they just going to steal the documents. Or you filed a law. You know how many people filed lawsuits against them for discrimination? New Jersey DAG is the Deputy Attorney General for the state of New Jersey. They are representing the state officials that I'm suing. They have a discrimination lawsuit. 3 black attorneys are suing them for being racist.
Wow.
New Jersey is race. New Jersey is so racist. My friend who's a sheriff officer, he filed a lawsuit because he was called the N-word. They sealed the documents. It's a police chief in Trenton. She filed a lawsuit for discrimination. She was brought up on false departmental charges. It was a police officer in North Brunswick. People file lawsuits all the time, but they're not getting the point where they got to stop doing it, because the system, the courts, the prosecutor are silencing them by sealing these documents. Baby, it end with me. It end with me, okay? It end with me. It took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree. When I tell you I went hungry at night and I sacrificed, and I was just, okay, all I have to do is this. I wanted to raise my kids and just live my life, but I'm not the, I refuse to be silenced about what they're doing.
So now here's the thing. So let's segue over, because you do have a website. I do have it running through the ticker, and I'm going to make sure I put it on the in the description if I haven't already. But here's the other thing that struck me, that I was like, this girl is amazing. After you lost your job, you invested in yourself. And, listening to you and interacting with you on social media different times, when I heard you say this, it just made so much sense. Everything clicked. You went to comedy school. Is that correct?
Yes.
Come on, talk about it, girl, because you are funny. I mean, girl, I be laughing at you sometimes. Go ahead, tell us about that and why you did that.
I'm a character. I grew up. I'm like all my brother. Yeah, shout out to my older brother. He is like at family reunions. He used to tell jokes. Like he made class comedian in high school. I made class comedian in high school. So like we like as a funny family, funny. Like my favorite. Like I used to watch You So Crazy at night. Like you couldn't tell me that I wasn't gonna be Martin Jr. But I knew I would always make a difference. And my goals I was on MTV with Nick Cannon in 2003. And I had ambitions of going to the media film, but I wanted to help people. And once I started learning about criminal justice and like my passion for the quote unquote law from my mom, I decided to dim my light and not do that, because I wanted to help people, and I could do it through social services and criminal justice. I could still tell jokes in the meantime, in between time, but I wanted to, when you famous, I'm not willing to sell my soul. I just can't do it. So I'm funny. And I was saying to myself, after me going through this traumatic experience, I have post-traumatic stress disorder, I have panic attacks, I'm on blood pressure medication, I'm going to live my life. I don't ever want to be in 60, 80 years old saying, I wish I could have, would have, should have. No, I'm going to do. And even if I fail, I'll say, well, I did it and I failed. For my 40th birthday, I went and did open mic night in New York City. And I was trying to do comedy before I got fired, but I got fired, first. Sure. As soon as I got fired, I went to comedy school. I went to Manhattan School of Comedy. I wanted to live my dreams. When I do something, I believe in doing it the right way. And yeah, you know how to tell jokes, but there's other things about the business that I didn't know. So I wanted to have the knowledge to know it. And I went to comedy school. And like when people laugh when I talk, I'm like, thank you. I needed that because that helped my mental health. But I just always wanted to do. I wish I could have, would have, should have. I never want to say, oh, I wish I would have did that. I wish I could have did. I want to do everything I say I'm supposed to do. And this is a dream that I put on the back burner for what? I have a comedy show coming up in November. I produce shows. Like in the middle of all this drama of the court, my brother was murdered. And while I was in comedy school, he was murdered. And literally his funeral was that Friday. That Sunday, I had my graduation for comedy school. Wow. And if you go to my YouTube, Dirty Jersey Productions, you'll see the video is the first video on there that I did for graduation. But like I respect the craft like wholeheartedly, and comedy is a lot. And where I am right now fighting, and you got to remember your jokes. And It's hard to remember your joke. You got to remember the punchline, and it's
The timing, the
you hear me
delivery. Yeah,
visualize. Yeah,
sure, sure.
I can't. And then when they graduate high school, Chris Tucker, Kevin Hart, they went out to the comedy club in New York and 2 o'clock. And I can't. I have kids. I got to get these kids ready for school in the morning.
Right, right.
So what I decided to do was start my business and put the shows on and bring the comics to me.
Yeah.
Because I ain't no
Yeah.
spring chicken, but
Well, I mean, that's a smart move because that gives you an opportunity to just kind of, okay, in between acts. All right, y'all, it's me. So yeah, you're just a brilliant person. You're just a genius. Do you mind sharing your website?
Yes, my website is Lyreshia Speaks. It's literally my name, Lyreshia Speaks, SPEAKS.com.
Okay, and so if we go to your website, we're going to learn about everything you got going on, your consulting business. You have your some history about your nephew, and everything that's going on with you. That's really pretty much a one-stop location to learn all things Lyreshia. Is that a good way of describing that?
Yes, because they keep throwing the monkey wrench when it comes to my nephew and everything. Besides the fact that he got his illegal conviction, besides the fact that they disregarded his mental health and his conviction, they disregarded the psychologist who wrote the evaluation. They sentenced him to 5 years nearer. When he gets placed on parole put him in a facility where he was assaulted. And while he was in the facility, he was telling the staff, I don't want to fight him. Like, my aunt got a lot going on. This guy's trying to assault me. Could y'all get him to stop? The staff looked at him like he was crazy. And the guy assaulted him. My nephew broke his hand. It's a videotape of this incident. The state of New Jersey Parole Officer SAS, SASS, is refusing to give that videotape to my nephew's attorney. And what happened was when he was in the hospital, he was about to have surgery. The parole officer called me and told me there was a videotape. And this parole officer didn't work with him in the facility. He was just transporting. So he didn't know the history or whatever. So he was just saying, yeah, it was a videotape. I saw it. Your nephew tried to avoid the situation. He asked the staff for help, but the staff can't intervene, and he was assaulted. So he should just be in 4 weeks. And when he gets his parole hearing, they should release him back on parole because he didn't do anything wrong. When Officer Sass, when we gave him we decided to get an attorney besides the public defender because we saw what the public defender did before. So this attorney contacted the state asking for evidence. They gave over evidence. So I asked the attorney, did you see the videotape? The attorney said, no, it wasn't no videotape. He contacted the New Jersey State Parole, Monmouth County, and they told him wasn't no videotape. And I told them they're both, white supremacists, they don't have a problem with lying. Trump I seen lie because I worked with him for 9 years in the New Jersey Judiciary in Middlesex County. They lie like there's no tomorrow. They will say lies, and if they say it just like Trump, that's just what it is. So he said there wasn't no videotape, and I said he's a bold-faced lie. There's a videotape. They used that tape to convict the other person for assault with my nephew. Now all of a sudden in my nephew case they don't have it. You just making evidence go away. That is a crime in of itself. You cannot do that. The state of New Jersey Parole don't care. So the attorney is filing motions saying, you can't even testify in court in his parole hearings, saying, well, according to the tape, when there's a tape, the tape speaks for itself.
Right.
And they don't care. And I called the FBI. The FBI, like, why I'm calling them? Like, because y'all the FBI. Y'all act like y'all don't know y'all role. But they'll tell black people till the cows come home that y'all need law enforcement. When you say this on the police, you the first one that call them. But when we calling them, we trying to report something, they don't want to hear it. I called the Department of Justice. I called the U.S. Attorney. I'm on their necks. And they looking at me like, why you calling us? Like, y'all act like y'all don't investigate public corruption. This is RICO. Like, y'all want to charge Young Thug with RICO, but why y'all not charging these government officials with RICO?
Come on with it.
Witness tampering is a crime. When you withholding evidence and official misconduct. Now, these people are putting in this report that my nephew was the aggressor. You have a written report saying he was an aggressor in the situation, but you have a videotape saying he not. Show the tape. And if the U.S. attorney asks for the tape and the state of New Jersey refused to give it over, the U.S. attorney can charge them. I can't. I could just accuse him.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I got them involved, because criminal charges need to be had here. People are like, oh, well, you want justice? Nah, I want people to go to jail. I want the same energy they have for my nephew with the same energy I want for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about what they're doing, and I'm making sure, again, it's just me. I'm calling the prison to talk about my nephew. They saying, oh, he's not in the system. I got a videotape I just did on Saturday. I went to see him. They didn't give him new clothes for 6 months because they're torturing him. I called on Monday. They're like, he's not in the system. This is what they say when I call. What you mean he's not in the system? I was just there. Then it's like the mental games that they play. They're torturing him, and they're keeping him in such a drug state. They're giving him Benadryl 3 times a day. Why would you give a person Benadryl 3 times a day?
Right.
Because you want him in a mental state where he groggy. He don't remember anything. They won't give him access to the phone for him to call home. They told his attorney cannot go into prison to see him. His attorney, that family that we are paying, they will not let this New Jersey Department of Corrections, the state parole, New Jersey Judiciary. That's what I'm saying. When people say police, baby, it's the police, but baby, behind them, the courts and Department of Corrections and the parole board. And I'm singing it like Tony Braxton. And I wrote about it in my book. And I'm making sure I did 2 documentaries. I did 2 documentaries on the abuses and what happened, because I know they want to cover it up. And again, I get shadow banned on my phone. I'm on the phone, I'm talking about them. The phone get cut off. I share a post and I'm like, oh, my interview just dropped. And then I'll send again, make sure y'all watch it. And people say, where the interview at? I'm like, where the interview at? I just posted it. Oh, I'm text messaging people. They're not getting my text messages. So that's why I really thank you for allowing me to get your platform, because I'm trying to be silenced about what's going on about this corruption. And I refuse. I'm doing everything in my power to fight. And it's literally just me.
It's a tough road. Well, here's my thing. I appreciate you so much for coming on here today with me, Lyreshia. I really do. I want to make sure that I put the if it's not in there now, I'll make sure I do it after this show is over, to put the link to your website, because it is an all-inclusive website, which is great. The opportunity is there to sign up and be a part of a mailing list that you have going on. And, we're just hoping for your success, because, your story it's amazing. And the most amazing part about it is the fact that you still have the mental fortitude to continue to fight, and you have such a positive attitude, and you're still funny, and you even make people feel good just in daily interaction. So that's the positive thing. This thing is not taken over you.
I'm a little touched by Angel. I'm a little on the crazy side. I'll admit that. I'm a little touched by Angel. I'm a little touched by Angel, because like, for me to fight and even grasp the fact that I have this fight, the only reason why I say I'm suicidal, homicidal all the time, but the only reason why is because I'm his only voice. At the end of the day, of everything I fought as a child, a lot of this prepared me for this. A lot of watching my mother fight for what's right and was justice prepared me for this. And me knowing at the end of the day, what goes on in the dark will always come to light. And the only way for these government officials to get away with this, if I'm silent and I let them. And I don't know if you noticed, but I like to talk. So I don't think it's happening no time soon. But, the biggest thing, crazy. I'm a little touched by Angel.
It's all right. That's all right. But the biggest thing is that you're in the fight, and you're fighting in a healthy manner, because you're even along your battle lines, you're making other people feel good. And you're helping us to understand, and really you're shedding light on this BS, because this sounds, it's very convoluted. So again, I want to thank you for pulling up. I'm going to make sure that we put the link in the description box to go to your website, and also to follow you on all your social media platforms. I also want to thank everybody that pulled up in the YouTube, Facebook streets. Appreciate everybody for pulling up. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe. That's it. That is the podcast. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe. Replay gang, leave a comment. I want to hear from you. And until next time, y'all, we will see ya.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Welcome to the Only Male Cruz Show, the We Own Your Head podcast. Discussing topics that make you say, How and where can we improve as a society? From a Black American's perspective.
Reparations,
Copyright disclaimer
lineage-based
regarding fair
chattel
use is in full
slavery.
effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Catch us live, be ready to speak. This is a call-in show. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Let's go to work.